While we're on the topic, I'd like to take a moment to tell you about my favorite British death. This is the Final Wager. I'm Keith Williams, and I'll get to that right after I get to this. John, looking for his third straight win. He'd become the third consecutive player to reach that milestone after that 5-week drought in which we had no one reaching 3 wins. Those of you who are a little bit more math inclined will notice immediately that Lauren doesn't have enough to force John to get it right. He would need to have 24,000, so John can still miss and win no matter what if Lauren misses. Speaking of streaks, droughts, so on, what have you, today I published a really cool looking chart, visualization, something, whatever you want to call it, with every single player who won a game since Ken Jennings and how long their streak lasted, and it looks really cool, and I'm going to make posters out of it. You can buy one if I ever get around to it. Let's do the math here. Lauren, a really good game between Lauren and John, by the way. And actually, all 3 players had daily doubles, and all 3 bet the maximum, and all 3 got it right. No one can complain about any of that. Lauren doubles up. She got 32,000. John, to cover that, oops, we need to wager 7,600. He's wrong with that wager. He'll be left with 16,800. As my brother said last week, math is hard. Lauren needs to wager 800 to get to that. That's the very, very, very bare minimum. Should wager everything, though. And Ricardo can only double up to 13,600. If Lauren goes to that 800, he can't catch her. But if she goes for the barely covered by $1 wager, then he might be able to catch her. I guess we'll look at that really quickly. The difference between them is 8,400, so 8,401. That's what Elliot Yates did in his first win against Vaughn. And yeah, we can cap John's wager at 8,300, 8,400, 8,399. So I'll just stick the extra $1 there. Stick the $1 here. So if Lauren's wrong with that wager, she'll be left with 7,600. So it still means that Ricardo would have to wager at least 800. Doesn't really matter. Not too concerned about that. This was a really hard final, I thought, and it looks like all 3 of our players agreed because they all missed and everyone wagered pretty much properly. So nice work, and congratulations, John, on reaching 3 games. Now, my favorite British death is about to celebrate a big anniversary in 5 years. In 1120, William Adelin, I think his last name was, the only son of Henry I, King of England, was returning from France on a little militaristic expedition, and everyone got drunk on their ship, and they crashed right off Normandy, and almost everyone died, except for maybe 2 people. Since he was the only son, that created a period called the Anarchy once Henry I died in 1135, and he wanted his daughter Matilda to become the queen. And he got the council, or the Whiten, or whatever it was called, to agree to that. And, you know, it seemed like things were going to be cool until her cousin Stephen of Blois came along and really screwed things up. And there was a war between them, and he captured her, and she escaped in the middle of the night in winter, and I think there's a really cool set of books written about it, I've heard. Fiction, anyway. But, you know, as unmorbid as that is my favorite death in British history. Because it created cool things, like a queen in 1120, who would have thought? Alright, enough of that. You can check that out. Oh, the ship was called the White Ship, by the way, if you want to look it up. And we'll see if anyone can sink Mr. Schultz tomorrow on the Final Wager.